All right. Doesn't look so bad. Elizabeth got me set up in a completely different space this time. I got natural light. I got the what's it called? The camera real far away. So whenever Shiloh joins, it's gonna cut half of the screen off, but I'll still be visible. Yeah. Welcome everybody. We are being joined by Mr. Shiloh Gastello. Oh wait, no, you're not here yet. I'll get close to y'all while I wait for Shiloh to get here. So good to see y'all, everybody. As I'm sure you viewing us know, Shulin's house burned down, which is terrible and sucks. But there's nothing that we can do about that. So we are doing a fundraiser, and Mr. Shiloh Gastello, who has had the pleasure of meeting Shulin and going to Nannuo Mountain, is joining us today for their Shiloh. How's it going, Shiloh? Shiloh, jump in this stream here. Welcome everybody. What's up, Sneaky Steak, Macro, Daisy, Alex? I saw you there. All y'all's. So here, Shiloh, I want to go ahead and add you here. How do I do this? They changed it on me. There. Okay. There we go. We should have Shiloh momentarily. Excellent. What's up, brother?
I'm good, brother. It's good to see you.
You too. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Been very busy. Lots been happening.
Me too. Me too. I've also been very busy.
I definitely didn't want to interrupt your definitely want to definitely love our dear brotherly Shulin, who played a very big part in helping me to better understand Shuar culture and Shangpuer culture too.
Me too. So much of what I know about tea, I know from him and his family and my experiences there on Nannuo Mountain. So for those of you who don't know me or who don't know Shiloh, I'm So-Han, this is Shiloh, and we met in Yunnan in, was that 2017, 2018?
It was December 2017, yes.
Right, yeah. And what were we doing there? You fill the people in.
Well, it's a story that me and So-Han didn't know each other before that time, and we just happened to show up at the same at the same Dai Pogong Shawan pottery, and I was there as an artist in residence through Sunbao Studio, and that is run by Jackson Lee, a potter and tea lover. And he was putting together a workshop for a big cultural festival, helping to introduce people of China to the cultural origin of the south of China. So Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, aka Burma too, and also Thailand. And so he was introducing Han majority Chinese people to this very rich culture that was not as well known, which is the culture of Xishuangbana, over 26 different unique ethnic minority groups who migrated there to the far south of China. And we were there to learn about the culture and then to also cross-pollinate and to also share pottery culture from the United States. We also had people from Belgium and Japan and Taiwan and various other areas. So we were all there to just drink tea, eat good food, to learn about Chinese culture, and for us to teach what we knew and then to take a backseat and to learn from everything else around us. So it was a wonderful opportunity for us to just be in a state of constant learning. And that I'm So-Han, you were going to Nannuo Mountain, and then you stopped in because you heard that Jackson was there, and we met there at the Bagang Shawandai pottery, and I just immediately was like, okay, here is another American tea lover. I found out that you had a tea house and that you had this rich history within tea culture, and I met you and Eric, and we just became quick friends.
Yeah, and then we've been touching base virtually every so often since then, especially since last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I was just there to hang out. Well, actually, Jackson had invited us to come out because we'd met Jackson previously in Jingdezhen, where the main Sanbao studio is, and we met him there with Mary Potterman, who was an artist in residency at that Sanbao, and that's how we knew Jackson. And yeah, and so we got to go. We wanted to go, and we were actually at the time we were working on figuring out how to connect Austin and Xishuangbanna, which are sister cities, to each other in a more of a tea-centric way. And I think I want to revive that project now that we're a few years down the road and we've got a little bit more established. I'd like to revive that project and see if that's a thing that we can do. Like Dushanbe Tea House in Boulder was gifted to Boulder by Dushanbe, Tajikistan, and that's how they have that tea house. And that whole tea house was gifted to them by their sister city. And so I was like, hey, Xishuangbanna, you want to gift us a tea house? Like a dye house that you can use as a tea house? But yeah, I'll try to figure out who to talk to about that. I know someone in the government.
Yeah. And also you have a little bit of dye in you too. You've found out later, right?
I did find out from a 23andMe. So I don't know how reliable that is. I don't know, because my ancestry is Cantonese, Hakka, and the Hakka went all over the place, so it makes sense that they could have picked up some Dai genes somewhere in that family tree, or that a Dai person could have made their way to central China, central southern China, where my ancestors lived. But yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know how good their haplotyping is for Han versus Dai ethnicity, but I assume it's pretty good. They're not like related ethnicities per se. But yeah, no, I never think about that. But I haven't been back to Xishuangbanna since I found that out. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. I was wondering about that. And also you have connected with other Dai potters too. And the work that you actually carry there from the Dai potters are from another Dai pottery altogether. So you actually connected with some other very talented Dai potters.
It was Boo Boo who introduced me. You remember Boo Boo?
Not by...
She spoke really good English. She was there at that event. That's how I met them. She was there, or maybe, yeah, it must have been that time. It was Boo Boo. She was studying pottery. She was like hanging around the studio. And anyway, she introduced me to this couple, Liang Tu, and she was working there. She was like studying there. And she's really cool. I should find her. I have to say hi to her. It's been a minute since I talked to her. But yeah, she introduced me to that Liang Tu studio. I'm actually using their cup right now. And yeah, we just got a bunch of their stuff, and it's about to go on the website as members-only products, and then we'll release it to the general public. But I love their work. Every time I get stuff from them, I just buy up their whole stock of whatever they have. And actually, Wu-Tang, well, the RZA, through his production company, 36 Chambers, just bought a bunch of those Liang Tu Studios tea sets with 36 chambers branded onto them, which I think is super, super, super cool that they did that. And they're going to sell some teaware, So that's awesome.
That's the thing about tea and teaware culture. Once you go over there and you show interest and a respect for the art forms, there's a generosity there that is hard. The ceramics and tea communities to me have always been some of my favorite, because in order to fire a kiln, you actually need multiple people, someone to chop the wood, someone to load the kiln, someone to make the work, obviously. And there's a sense of camaraderie that exists between the strata of everyone who assists with that. And likewise with tea culture, where you share things openly. I think that they just blend. So I just made quick friends with everyone over there too. And I really miss China, because I haven't been back there since August 2019. It's been a little while.
Yeah, me too. The last time I was there was in 2019 as well. Earlier than that, so I haven't been back. I miss China too. I think everyone who's actually spent any amount of time in China misses it when they're not there. Is that's my experience that I've from people I've talked to. I'm drinking some of Lee's tea before I finish it all. I'm drinking Doomroy. This is like my favorite.
Uh,
So, yeah, rest in peace. I mean, it still exists. We got a little bit of it, but not very
believe
much.
right, exactly. So I guess well, here's what I'm having. I don't know if you can see right now, but it's the wild purple. It's the wild
Oh,
purple, and that one is a 2015 Shung.
yeah.
It's a purple tea, which means that it's a mutated gene there that actually caused it to. I can't remember the chemistry behind it entirely. He actually made a video all about it, actually, and
Yeah.
just like there's purple. Uh,
It's anthocyanin and proanthocyanidins.
exactly, and they add to the flavor the antioxidant content.
Yeah. Yeah, they have all kinds of different, under investigation health effects. But a lot of foods that have those are considered superfoods.
And this one in particular, this is a 100-gram cake, and it still has the Guanyin Tea House logo on it.
Yeah, yeah, old school.
Yep, I remember. This was actually a gift. You and Eric came off of Nannuo Mountain. You had just talked to Li Shulin, and then you gave me this cake as a gift, and I have about half of it left. I've been like very carefully drinking this one. This
Nice.
is a cherished tea. Yeah.
So, so for those of you who are not aware of the situation, Li Shulin, the man who made the tea that I'm drinking and who made the tea that Shiloh's drinking and who is our friend from Yunnan, his house burned down, which sucks because his house burned down. It's fine because no one was hurt. Luckily, he wasn't hurt. His wife wasn't hurt. He wasn't even there at the time. His wife was home, Tsai, but she was fine. She got out in time. She was fine. But all the tea is gone. And this is a pu'er farmer, which means that it's not just this year's tea. It's all of the tea he had collected over 21 years of his career making tea is gone. And that sucks because this tea is gone. The only tea of this that is left is what we have here. This is Doomline. And then what other people in China might have, but there's not a lot of it out there. And now this one is, like I said, this one's one of my favorites. So I'm drinking in memoriam. But yeah, what was your experiences with Lee?
Well, I didn't get a chance to spend as much time as you did because when I went to Nannuo Mountain, I spoke with everyone but Li Shulin. So I got to learn a lot about his practice, though. When I was there, I got to see everything. I got to see the tea. I got to see the mountainside. I got a chance to experience the natural atmosphere, and then I got to experience the love of the craft that was present there on Nannuo Mountain. And because you and I were still so new, I think I didn't. That's probably why, as I wasn't grandfathered in at that time. But if I had gone with you, I think because I had to split time between the workshop
That's right.
and between going to Nannuo Mountain. So
That's right.
yeah, but at the same time, the way that when I went to Nannuo Mountain, we went to go pick tea leaves together, and we got a chance to experience the atmosphere there. And you were telling me about Li Shulin, and you had all these unique stories about how he took care of you like a son, and he was also and also you told me some really colorful stories too that we'll have to talk about at one point. But he's been like in addition to a team mentor, he's also been a father to you, and the generosity that he always showed, and the way that that you described it, I saw it in action when I was there on Nannuo Mountain, and we drank so much tea, and we had so much good baijiu, and we enjoyed several good meals, and it was like when you're so far away from home, you always appreciate generosity and hospitality, so much more so than when you are more in than when you are in a comfortable place. And when I experienced that there on Nannuo Mountain, it really made me realize that through tea culture, that sense of hospitality, through showing pride in the product of tea and its ability to calm the senses, to advocate for conversation, and then also T. Shulin's years of experience, also experimenting with Yuan Sheng Tuo and unique forms of making shu pu'er that no one else does, and how he was experimenting and creating new forms of kind of subsets of tea, really really stood out to me that this is not just a generous person, but this is also an individual who wants to continue to explore tea culture and to continue to help people to see how indicative tea culture is within the arts. And so all of that just impressed upon me how really cool of a person he is. And I'm really sad I didn't get a chance to spend like a lot of time there because our paths just didn't cross at the right time.
Right.
But he was, but I feel like we're already close just because of knowing you. And I do want to go up there at one point. When you make your next trip, I would love to bring some tea wares to him to gift the family and to explore that strata with him after he gets back on his feet, which is why it's so important that he gets back on his feet, because we want to enjoy his tea. We want to enjoy his friendship, his mentorship, and he has all this experience. So why wouldn't we want to continue to enjoy that?
And the nature of this situation that we're in is that I talked to him last night, and he's talking about not going back to Nannuo Mountain. He's talking about moving to Munghai, which is where his mom is. Okay. Actually, it's like he's in this situation. He lost all of his tea. He lost like 2 million yuan, $300,000 worth of tea is what he estimates. That's his estimate. He lost his house, and he lost all of his tea growing equipment. Not to mention his like personal belongings, that aside, but just as far as like the monetary financial loss, he lost just $300,000 in work, in product, and money. His tea that he put aside, that was his, his livelihood, his savings, his retirement, gone. And then the cost to rebuild. A lot of the value that he possessed was not liquid; it was tea. It was solid tea, and the cost to rebuild is a lot. To rebuild a house, even though he still has the land, he could rebuild a house on it, but it costs money to rebuild a house. And he has a little 600 square meter house in Munghai where his mom lives. And so he's like, well, I'll just go here, I'll move to Munghai, and I'll just make other people's tea. And I'll still pay people to go pick my tea and bring me the tea, and I'll process it here in Munghai. It's 30 minutes away, you know what I mean? And
that makes sense. Yeah.
But if we can get him enough money, then he can stay on Nannuo Mountain. And that's what has emerged for me, is that this fundraiser isn't just about his ability to get equipment again. This is, if we can raise enough money for him, then he can stay on Nannuo Mountain, which is his home. That's where he was born, and that's where he's lived his whole life. And it's where I know him. And for me to not have a home on Nannuo Mountain is like tragic. The idea that I would not have a place to go and stay on Nannuo Mountain with Lee, my friend, is really, just like you said, he's like a father to me. He's like family to me. And him and his wife, Tai, they call themselves. They're like, oh, you're our American son. And I feel like, and he has been so generous. He's given us tea on credit, and we pay him. You know what I mean? We pay him back. We make sure that if he needs something, he'll give us tea. He'll send us tea. He doesn't worry about us paying him. And then when we pay him off, as we can. And then if he needs something, he knows that I'll do everything in my power to get him the money. If he's like, well, I need to buy this piece of land. I want to rent this pot of tea. It just came up for lease, and I want to rent it. Like I need an extra, this much money this month. We'll make it happen. And he's like, I need to buy some tea processing equipment. Like we'll make it happen. So we just have this, and he gives me, prices that on Gushu cha that people don't get. Everyone's like, oh, Gushu cha has to be really expensive. Like yes, it does, unless you have a special relationship with the person who has access to it. And that's just how things work in China. If you've got guanxi, then things don't have to be as expensive as they would be, or as difficult as they would be. But this is my turn to show up as his American son, is to to be able to raise money and ask the community to help and be able to show him in like a very real way, in a very tangible way, hey, you've had a big impact on the tea community here. Like, this is how big of an impact? $10,000. That's how big of an impact, and hopefully more. We got this $10,000, and I was like, I set that goal without having talked to him at length and seeing like what did he really need. I set that goal because I thought that would be great if we could. I thought it was going to take like a month to get that much money, but it took 2 days. We raised it really fast. But now I'm talking to him. It's like, oh, well, he really needs 20,000 to be able to harvest in October. That's the goal, to be making tea again. And as for getting a house, rebuilding his house, it's a possibility. I haven't asked him for an exact number on how much he would need to rebuild. But what I do know is that if he can make tea in October and he can sell tea in November, then he can rebuild a house faster. You know what I mean? Like, if he has the equipment and he has the means to make money, at least that will help a lot. And so now I'm trying to get him to 20K. I'll talk to him tonight when he wakes up and be like, if you're going to give me a real estimate, just like give me the number. How much would it cost to be able to rebuild a house? Because he still has the land, you know what I mean? And his trees are fine. The tea plants are not injured.
Okay.
So the tea plants are all fine. So he still has the means to make a living on Nannuo Mountain. It's just a matter of having the capital to be able to rebuild. And it's one of those situations where if he can't afford to, he was talking to a tea boss in Mengku about going to work for him. And he would hire him. He would no longer be his own tea farmer. He would be an employee. He'd be the tea master of this operation in Mengku. And I just think that would, I'm sure the tea is nice there. I like Mengku tea, but it would just be a shame, for him to not be able to own the plants, to grow the plants the way he wants to have full autonomy over what he wants to make and how he wants to make it. And, he's always doing experiments. He's always like, hey, So-Han, I took some red tea and then I wet piled it and I fermented it. Or like, I took some green tea and then I let it sit wet overnight and it turned into red tea. Or he just does all this crazy stuff, making shu pour out of purple tea and all these different things. And, that's part of the fun of going there, is seeing all this crazy stuff he does. Yuan Sheng Tuo. I don't think that his boss would want him experimenting with his, his tea. But he can do whatever he wants with his own plants. And so, yeah, it's kind of like an existential crisis at this point for him. Not real existential, because he will live. He will live, and he'll find a way to make a living, processing other people's tea, maybe a little bit of Nannuo tea, whatever. But for him to return to doing something which is the life that he had built for himself. The life that he had built for himself was living on Nannuo Mountain, where he's from. It's his home, growing tea that he's proud of on Nannuo Mountain. And he's spent 2 decades on these plants. He's had some of these plots for decades, more than a decade. And he's been cultivating them clean. He's been keeping them clean. The soil has had time to regenerate. The plants have had time to flush out, whatever pesticides might have been used on them before he started managing them. And fertilizers, whatever, and it would be a shame for him to lose that. And he's like, well, there's lots of people in Menghai who make shengtai cha, ecological tea. I'm like, yeah, but they're not you. We don't know, they say that they're doing that, but you know what you do, and I know what you do because I've known you so long, I've seen what you do. But you go and buy something from someone, you're having to trust that person. There's an extra layer of trust going on there. And so, yeah, and then so actually I talked to him the night before last, and he was like, I'm not going to go back to Nannuo Mountain. And then he responded today, and he's like, if I can get enough money, then I can move back to Nannuo Mountain. I can build a house and move back to Nannuo Mountain. So, yeah, it really is an existential situation as far as him being a Nannuo Mountain tea farmer and being able to rebuild where he's from, where his life is.
So then this really is an opportunity. If everyone is able to give a little bit and able to get even to 20,000, he'll able to come back quicker, and then he can just rise to the occasion and will continue to. Everyone who has had your teas, we know that 3/4 of them, come from Li Shulin almost. West China tea as a culture emerged from Li Shulin. So if we want to continue to enjoy those teas, then then this is our way to give back in order to show thanks for all the wonderful tea that we've enjoyed too. And I can say that it was incredibly sad if we didn't have Li Shulin to explore all that he has in mind. I'm sure there's a lot more that he wants to try, and if he loses that autonomy, like you said, we'll lose out on some truly unique teas that, and that would just be a travesty.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what the deal exactly is. Like, I don't know if he's going to need to, I don't know if he's going to need to, like, I don't know if he needs to do it soon or if he can do it piecemeal. You know what I mean? If he can stay in Munghai, but if he has enough, if he can build a small tea processing workshop, you know, up on Nannuo and use his neighbors' facilities also. Like, he's got lots and lots of friends and neighbors on the mountain, you know what I mean? If he can, or if it's like, if, you know, if I can't get this much money, I'm going to sell the land and just move to Munghai, like pack it in and move to Munghai. So I know he doesn't like Munghai. I know for a fact that he doesn't like Munghai. I mean, he likes it better than Jinghong. He says Jinghong's too hot, but he says Munghai's too loud. He likes being in the country. He likes living in the country. He loves living in the country. Every time I see him, he talks about how glad he is he lives in the country and how glad he is he doesn't live in the city, and how he loves to eat food that he finds and loves to eat food that he grew, and you know, like, and walk up the mountain every day. You know, he says, I never have to get exercise because I'm always walking up and down the mountain. And the clean water and the bees, the honey, you know, the bee larvae, the bamboo worms. There's all this stuff that and Tsai, you know, she takes us out on these plant walks, and she loves the forest, she loves the jungle, she loves the mountains, she loves all the plants and everything like that. And it's like, that's where those people belong. You know, this is their home. They're part of this mountain. And it does feel like this really, it feels like an existential crisis for me, you know, just me. It's like your parents getting divorced or something, you know what I mean? It's like, he can't not be on Nannuo Mountain. Like, we can't not be on Nannuo Mountain. For me, that's a really disturbing idea. That I would go to Nannuo Mountain, I would have nowhere to stay. I would have no family there. I would have no one there. It would just be a place that I visit. You know, you go up there for the day, or you get a hotel room, or, you know, that's not you know, that's not what I want, and I know it's not what he wants. I know it's not what he wants. I know he wants to move back to Nannuo Mountain. I know he doesn't want to live in Munghai. He's a tough dude, and he's a trooper. You know what I mean? Him and Tsai, they were like, don't worry, we'll keep making tea. Our tea will be even better than before. You know, but I know they don't want to live there. I know that's not what they want. So yeah, we're trying to get all the funds that we can get together to help him out. And he's shown up for us again and again. Like you said, this company wouldn't exist if it weren't for Shulin. So, and I honestly, like, I have it's a lot easier for me to ask for money on behalf of Shulin than it would, you know, I did a fundraiser last year. We did a bunch of lives for my fundraiser last year. That was to keep the company from going under during COVID. And that was hard. That was like psychologically and emotionally difficult for me. It was a lot of like shadow work with me involved with asking for money for my project and acknowledging that I needed help to continue. But I don't mind asking for Shulin, and you know, it's a good thing. It's for a good cause. There's nothing ambiguous about that. So I feel fine about asking for it.
All right. And I would agree with you that when I saw and also you saw the amount of people who love you and live in the tea house, and now I'm Little Lark. I mean, we see what happens when everyone shows up for each other, how that actually builds, even across the digital divide, we were able to build a stronger community because of that. And we had a clearer purpose because of that. And as you said, it was because of numerous reasons. The website was having issues, and that wasn't your fault. That was, you know, there was due to numerous things. And so when things like that occur and everyone gives a little bit, it's amazing the amount of integrity and personal integrity, and it's important for us to feel supported during these times. And so I think extending that to Shulin is the ultimate form of that particular expression.
Absolutely. For me personally, it's the least that I can do is to try my best to take care of him in this situation. You know what I mean? It's like what you would do for a parent or something like that. Like, you have to do whatever you can do to help this person. And yeah, and and yeah, I mean, and I'm like, I'm also like grateful for the opportunity to do something for him, because the relationship has always been, him helping me out, and I of course I help him out as much as I can. I'm just like the small potato, you know what I mean? Like when he met me, I was not doing anything. I was doing research in Chengdu, and I was just some kid, who liked tea a lot and wanted to see the big trees. And he always like was, excited to share what he knew with me. He was never dismissive. He always made time for me. He always paid attention to me. He was never like, oh, this kid again. I got better things to do. Like when we go there, he like kills a pig. We have a feast. We party. We argue about like culture and stuff like late into the night. And like he's always treated me with so much consideration and dignity and respect. He's always treated me with so much respect. And I started from just being some kid who liked to drink his tea, and now I think that we make a substantial contribution to his livelihood, every year through West China Tea. The amount of tea that we sell, I believe, makes a very substantial contribution financially to his life. And now we're doing even more. Now it's not just, before he would give us tea on credit, you know what I mean? And now we're able to come through for him and give him money that we don't owe him. This is, above and beyond the money that we pay for tea. This is there to help him. And I feel really good about that it's come full circle, and that I'm able to show up for him the way that he's shown up for us and me personally over the last decade. It's been a decade now.
Wow. See, and those are the things that are hard to convey. It's like when you are in China, it's really hard to fully advocate and to indicate the amount of the impact that it has on you when it's tied to tea culture. I left China with friends that I've been in touch with, and I've been invited back on numerous occasions. And I think that as you said, it's important for us to what we love about the culture is the continuity that we have through sharing tea. And as you said, it was the least that you could do to advocate for things of that sort. It's that quiet, unspoken bond that you have for people that you care about. And I think if anything, COVID has really helped us to come to terms with doing whatever we can to make small contributions in order to help build up to a larger whole, to help people who need the assistance. It could be that we have less, but if we are able to give even just a little bit, we feel as though we have, it all adds up. And I think because we use digital as a resource, we're much more familiar with it. And so I think there was a lot, as much as there is the realization of what is occurring on the worldwide strata, I think we've become more connected in positive ways, additional to just the more neutral or the negative strata. I personally, I agree with you wholeheartedly that it helps everyone. It helps everyone to be a little bit more outside of the space, and for us cognizant of the people who need additional help, and then it helps us to also be open to receiving help.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right.
No, I agree, and I think that's kind of the overall lesson of tea, is to take people out of a transactional paradigm and put people back into a connective paradigm. If I was looking at this like a conventional business relationship, I would say, oh, that's too bad. We Shulin, his stuff burned down. I better find another supplier. You know what I mean? From a business perspective, it doesn't make sense for me to give him a bunch of money just to get him going again, when there's other people who I could spend that money and buy tea with. You know what I mean? I guess it helps that it's not our money; it's the community's giving us money to give to him. But you know what I mean? It's like a lot of effort and a lot of not directly benefiting the tea company, indirectly benefiting us because our farmer can make tea again, indirectly benefiting us. But I guess there's just a lot of things that would be different if it was a conventional business. But my point is that in our society, we get lulled into this trap of seeing everything as a transaction because that's how our default interactions work. They're very transactional. You go to a coffee shop or something like that, and there's this, the prerogative of the people who own the coffee shop is for you to get in, get a drink it, and leave, or get another drink. But they don't want you hanging around without buying a drink and just socializing. They want you to be making space for the next customer. But in a tea house, you want people to hang out. You want people to stay. And it's not because they're going to buy more tea. It's because that's what a tea house is. A tea house is a place where people hang out and they connect with each other. They connect with the person serving the tea. They connect with the other people at the tea house. They connect with the plant and the planet through that. They connect with the farmer through the plant. They connect with themselves, and I believe that there is a current of people wanting to reclaim that connective culture and say, no, people aren't just the sum of what they can do for me. People aren't just the sum of, I can't just put a dollar value on a person in a relationship. And it's to the point now where people are so used to this transactional relationship. It feeds into the kind of the meritocracy-driven, like law of the jungle worldview. It's like everyone's trying to dominate everybody else. That's what human life is. Humanity, human society is people always trying to dominate each other, and that's what makes the wheels turn. And that's just, everyone does it, and if they say that they're not trying to do that, they're either a fool or they're a liar, and they're trying to get one over on you. And you can't trust anyone, and at the end of the day, people are just making a calculation of how much you can benefit them. To the point where people apply this to intimate relationships. You see these like pickup artists who are rating women on a scale and talking about how to what points can make you a higher value as a man, and what makes a high value woman, and how to gain power in a relationship, how to control the power dynamics in your relationship. It's this really nasty, to me that's a very nasty and cold and lonely worldview, and it's not how humans really work at the end of the day. But there is this illusion that we're all kind of exposed to, and people buy into it to varying degrees, but tea breaks that illusion. I think tea breaks through that because it is connective. And people want connection, people desire connection, but you can't sell connection. Because as soon as you sell it, it's not a connection anymore, it's a transaction. But the tea house doesn't sell connection. The tea house sells tea. And people can connect over tea. The interaction is that it holds space for that connection to happen. And so I really believe, and as I know you do too, through our talks, I've been working to articulate and crystallize these concepts a little bit more. You and I, something that I think that we share and have recognized in each other since we met, is that we both share this vision, maybe not a fully fleshed out vision on either of our parts, but we both can glimpse the degree to which tea culture has a transformative power on society at large, beyond just being something to enjoy, that it does have this positive, wholesome, healing capacity to bring people together. And when the disease is people being separate, right now, that is I don't want to say disease because that's ableist, but the disorder is that people are separate from each other. They're separate from themselves. They're separated from the earth and from nature and tea, and they're separated because there's a financial incentive to make people feel separated, because then you can sell that connection. You can sell a facsimile of that connection. You can sell products that fill in that need for connection. But tea allows you to do that without having to be in a consumer-driven purchase cycle. Obviously you buy teaware. If people didn't, then we would both, be out of a job. But maybe not, you wouldn't be out of a job, but I would be out of a job for sure. People didn't buy those things. But the things, they grow, people make them, they need to get paid for them. People, it's a trade. But at the end of the day, on an individual level, if I'm pouring tea for someone and 5 more people show up to drink tea, I don't need more tea, I just need more water. You know what I mean? Even if that's the only pot of tea I have, I can still serve that same pot of tea to everybody else. And at the end of the day, you can enjoy tea very inexpensively um, compared to a lot of things. That, and the fact that you can just pour more water on it, even if it's weak, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You're still drinking tea with people. You can just heat up some more water. Because like you know, if you've got like 5 people, don't just show up to a party empty-handed. You know, where there's a keg, or you know, there's like bottles or whatever. You know, people, they got to bring a bottle. They got to bring a 12-pack or whatever. They have to bring enough alcohol, at least to cover their own consumption if they're being like cool. It's otherwise it's an imposition on the people at the party. And there's this transactional tension there. It's like, oh, these 5 dudes showed up. Well, did they bring beer? Are they here to drink our beer? But if 5 dudes show up to your tea party, it's all good, as long as you got cups, you know, and more water.
Right, and also to say that it creates a space for people to then build actual relationships, unlike alcohol, which in and of itself, there is a connectional culture tied to whiskey, to where you share with your parents, you share with friends. But the wonderful thing with tea culture is that it really does, because of the catechins, the antioxidant content, the L-theanine, all of those, they hydrate. They help to clarify the mind. They help to, the flavors are so multifaceted, and they help, and also if you're all drinking the same tea, you all are enjoying similar energetics. All of those unique things help to build toward then creating connections where people of various art forms or various business types then can correspond with each other. Exactly. In a more free flowing way that's not transactional in the more general sense. It creates a more easygoing structure. So, and that ultimately brings them back to that space to enjoy connection, and the funds that they share. It's not that they pay an immense amount all at once. They actually pay a small amount to enjoy their tea, and then as they begin to learn more, you know, they may pay for a being or some teaware, but they always continue to come back. So there's a steady flow of funds to keep that relationship going between the tea house, between everyone involved who's drinking tea. All of those elements lead to a much more balanced social structure. And there's a reason why it's still around after thousands of years, and it continues to grow, and also why it's so needed during this time. And it shows you the power of it, because even through digital means, we're still building that culture, even though we're not physically sharing tea side by side. So to me, that speaks to the fact that once you understand the concept of that, then it builds momentum on itself. So all of that just lends itself toward the power that tea culture can have on helping to keep an economy going.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's kind of what we're doing on our Mighty Networks now. You know, we've talked about this for like years. I've been talking about this for years. You've been talking about this. And it's an observation that the way that people are able to, once that connection is there and people can show up with their passion, we all get the benefit of being able to enjoy the fruits of each other's passion and our labor, you know, and because they're shared freely and they can be exchanged also, you know, if we want. And so like on our Mighty Networks, which we just launched, I don't know if you're on it, you should get on it for sure. It's just meet.westchinatea.com. I haven't advertised it at all yet because we're still like getting momentum going on engagement. I want to get a regular schedule up where people from the tea house are posting on it to make sure that there's, because that's how you keep, you know, these online communities going. But it's doing really well. People are really engaged. People are posting and commenting on each other's posts, and it works like, you know, like social media network like Facebook or something, but it's way simpler and it's not terrible, unlike Facebook, which is terrible. And it's just tea people. It's just you know, the West China tea community, people talking about tea, posting pictures of tea, and then we do Zooms and everything. But everyone, when they sign up, has the option of listing their craft, their profession with their name, the field that they're in. So you could be Potter, you know, it's like Shiloh, Shiloh Gastello, and then it would say Potter after your name. And what we want to do next is, now that we have this network of people, this growing network of people, hey, that's from the studio. Or is that, did you make
Actually,
that one?
No. Yep, I made this one.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. Is it dye clay?
No, this is the red clay. It's Minnesota, Kentucky, and California clay, but blended and processed in Oregon.
Hell yeah. I love that. It's beautiful. I can see the dye influence on it, though. It does have some elements of that dye teapot construction. It's beautiful. I love that.
Yep.
So that's for young?
As you were saying, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that it's advocating for things that you wouldn't have heard otherwise. That's one thing that tea culture is about, is it brings people from disparate artistic practices into accord. So that way we can all learn about things that we might not have learned about otherwise, because it's all about whether or not it's essential oils, or about or learning about tarot, or learning about, and also learning about ceramics, learning about tea, learning about I've learned so much from the tea community, including holistic health through Chinese culture, and also just about Chinese medicine and about Asian medicine. And that led me to meet Ray, and Ray ultimately taught me how to enjoy food from the season, and I have a very warm constitution, and combining that with the supplements that I take and things of that sort, the exercises I do. I learned about acupressure from Ray. All those little things led to me kind of learning how to take better care of myself too, so that way I could be more in tune with my body. So all I'm saying is, you end up learning so many wonderful things that only benefit you, and you learn ultimately how to take ownership of your body back too. Yeah. And so these things that are very old, very, very ancient practices, and learning how they are implemented in a world where we have to be very cautious what we consume, because of either it being artificial, or we're not even sure what the ingredients do. And it causes you to question things in a healthy way, and to really better understand what we are taking in. And so all of that, it's a really wonderful, very subtle shift in your consciousness. And so tea culture does that really beautifully, because you're just sitting there and just enjoying tea, and you're quietly building on your understanding of several facets of things that you love, or things that you didn't know about. And so I'm really thankful, because even during allergy season this time, I now am having prickly pear, to help to fortify me. And so, again, just speaking to the practicality of that knowledge. So I wouldn't have learned all that if I hadn't learned about tea culture. So I personally have felt the benefit, and I am excited to continue to see that, so that way I can continue to make more pots.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I've never had tea with someone who was boring. And you know what that tells me? But then I meet people in the world who I think are boring, who bore me. And it's not just that no boring person ever comes into tea, it's that there are no boring people actually. There's just boring contexts in which to meet people. Any context where people don't feel like they can express themselves because they're afraid of judgment or rejection or of violence or of exclusion, or of punishment. Like, for example, someone who's like really, really boring because they work at the DMV, and they're like, all they are to you is this annoying person that you have to deal with at the DMV. But if you knew them, they have all these passions, they have all these interests, they have all this knowledge that you don't have. But at the DMV, when you're a customer and they're the clerk, then you have this like boring, annoying, antagonistic relationship. But if you were to be with them in a context where they could feel free to express themselves, and they weren't just there for some transaction that they don't really want to be there for, then you could meet them in their authenticity as the very interesting person that they are. And so I think that's what it is. You know, when I say I've never had tea with someone who was boring, that's true. No one's ever come into this tea house and had tea with me, and I've been like, man, that person's boring as hell. Everyone's interesting. Everyone is interesting and engaging and fascinating. And when you're in this context of having tea and you don't have to be anyone in particular, you're just there, then you have been given license to be whoever it is that you are. You have been given license to be that person who knows about Chinese medicine, not someone who feels like they don't want to talk about Chinese medicine because, oh, you don't know if these people are interested in hearing about it, and you don't want to point out your Chineseness, or you don't want to sound like a crazy hippie or whatever. There's all kinds of reasons why people, don't want to express themselves completely, and it usually has to do with fear. And it's a lot of time it's validated, it's justified, but because tea is this inclusive environment, you get people coming in from all different backgrounds, from all different ethnicities, from all different cultures, from all different ages, walks of life, neurological, states, etc. And being able to integrate into a single community and appreciate what's different about each other, not to, coexist in spite of our differences, which is so often what we're exhorted to do, is coexist, tolerate. But really, it's better to celebrate, really enjoy the things that make people unique, the things that, we've got a friend who comes in who has Tourette's, and that's just part of his deal. And we think it's cool. It's, we talk about it. It's not this subject that we ignore. He has these tics and he'll say something, and we'll have a conversation about the way his tics have changed and like what triggers them. And it's something that's interesting to talk about for all of us. He enjoys talking about it because other places he feels like it's this thing that he kind of has to just cover up and pretend isn't happening and feel embarrassed about. But at the tea house, he doesn't have to feel embarrassed about it at all because nobody's judging him for it. It's just something that he does, and it's actually kind of cool and interesting at the end of the day. It's something that's unique about him. And
Curiosity.
What was that?
Oh, no, I was going to say also I learned about autism. I learned about stimming and how people take care of themselves, and also learning about better understanding neurologically where people are when they have, OCD or bipolar disorder. A lot of demystification occurred at the tea table with a lot of the conversations I had about mental health. And it's really interesting. I think I've learned more from speaking less and just I learned how to listen better because of tea culture, and and that has been a benefit in many strata and many areas of life too.
I can stroll you out to the front and we can look at some of this Dai teaware real quick if you want, and I'll see if the tea house is down to say hi.
Please do. Yeah, let's do it.
And let's, while we're doing that, I'll look at some of these comments. I haven't been scrolling down. Oh boy, there's a lot of them. So inspired me to keep going on my journey. Macro nerd, thank you.
I think I counted like 4 or 5 comments. I think there were like 2 or 3 questions in there.
Okay, we got Macro nerd. Thank you so much, Macro nerd. I really appreciate that. Candice, Fahad. Okay, what's up? Wade. Yes, watch the Cripple Tea video. You want to say hi to Lindsay? Shiloh.
Hey, Shiloh.
Hello. Hello, Lord. Hi, big girl. How
you doing?
Baby. I'm doing good. It's good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you.
I hope that you've been. It looks like it's been quite a journey with Lark. You guys have been learning a lot from each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's a good teacher.
She's a very good teacher.
Indeed. They are. They are indeed. Yeah, it's a typical teaching. Thank you guys for all that you share with us too. Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, man, we had a lot of people watching this one. Oh, we got Steve was on here. Oh, did the audio break for you guys? Okay. Okay.
It did for me.
birds walking into our house because it killed them.
I'm not going to talk in here, but I'm going to show you the dai tea ware, okay?
And I was worried because like I'm assuming we like regenerate in the morning or something. I'm worried that I was worried that my friend was gonna like get hurt because she's not part of the contract. I know.
So she won't be regenerated.
Yeah. So stretchy, so the bird's claw was just like trying to claw at it, and I was trying to keep the door closed. And then at one point I just got too scared, and so I ran up to my bed since my bed's aloft, and hit
You're
on
like,
the covers,
"See ya, friend."
and then I died.
Are all these dreams that you guys have at your dad's house? You
Yes.
never tell me about bad dreams, like, ever.
Oh, I've actually had a dream about the when
And then there's
I
one
was
more. Hold on.
at my dad's house, but then I woke up and I was actually at my mom's house.
I had this dream one time. I don't really
And then there's
remember
the black
what it
sand
was,
stuff too.
But I was like in this dark room.
Hey, what's up?
And it was a tall figure.
Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, welcome back to town. Yeah, you want to do self-serve?
Yeah, someone said it's over here.
Okay, cool.
See the bones.
I know we look exactly alike, but, you know, Naeem just called me Moncho. Do you guys, real quick, sorry to interrupt, Liam. Nice, I like your haircut though, a lot. It looks great. Do you guys want to say hi to Shiloh? I'm on a live stream with him. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Here's everybody. Here's the tree house.
What a beautiful group.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tea house.
Enjoy your tea time, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a regular old day at the tea house. Yeah, and that was just some of the dye tea ware. I'm gonna go ahead and get it all up on the site soon. But yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Shiloh. I really appreciate it. I really wanted you to be able to get the chance to speak, because even though you didn't get to spend time with Lee per se, you've been connected with him through me and the company and the tea and going to Nannuo Mountain and us meeting in Yunnan. So there's that connection there. And yeah, I really, really hope that we can get him enough money to stay on Nannuo Mountain. That's my mission right now, is to make that happen. So thank you for taking the time to help us out, help us spread the word and let people know that we're trying to help them out.
Well, for sure. And continue to do what we can. We want to see more of this culture spread. And please give our love to Lee and Sai as well, and let them know that we appreciate all the hard work that they do, and the love and passion that they have for their art form.
I will do so. All right, Shiloh. Thanks so much, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
But take care. We'll talk soon, everybody. Take care.